Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Groundwork Ohio's weekly morning meeting. We are thrilled to have the co-executive directors of Ohio AEYC with us this morning. I'm going to read a little bit about their backgrounds, and then I'll turn it straight over to them so we can get to the heart of the content. Welcome, good morning, Kim Tice, who has 40 years of experience as an early childhood educator, family child care provider, program director, and executive leader in for-profit, nonprofit, early Head Start, faith-based, and public sectors. Tim has been the executive director for OAEYC. I should say it all the way through. Ohio Association for the Education of Young Children. I just always use the acronym for over 20 years and is currently sharing leadership responsibilities with her co-executive director, Qianna Tidmore, who's with us as well. In 2017, Kim became a certified facilitator in the Serving Leader model and established the National Early Childhood Leadership Center, a collaboration with the Center for Serving Leadership to provide leadership development, coaching, and consulting in the early childhood field. Thank you for being here, Kim. And I'll also welcome Qianna Tidmore, the first Black co-executive director of OAEYC. She's worked in early childhood administration for over 17 years. Qianna is passionate about early childhood advocacy on the local, state, and national level, empowering early childhood educators through leadership training, and ensuring equity and access to education and services for children and families. Qianna holds a master's degree in curriculum and instruction with a certification in pre-K through third grade, excuse me. Qianna is certified as a trainer for the Center for Serving Leadership as well. She embeds the principles of being a serving leader as a PTA executive board member, legislative chair for the Jack and Jill Erie Shores chapter, on the Chaplains Council for the Greater Cleveland Alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and as a member of several local and statewide boards, advisory groups, and councils. So without further ado, I want to turn it over to Kim and Qianna, and I know Kim has some slides that she'll go ahead and share. Please feel free to throw some questions in the chat as always, and at the end, we'll reserve a few minutes in case folks want to pop off mute and ask questions as well. Thanks so much, ladies.
Okay. So thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. Ohio AEYC is proud to be a partner of Groundwork Ohio, and we've worked closely together on many initiatives and advocacy work over the years. So we're just thrilled to be here with everyone. Ohio AEYC, we're celebrating our 50th year, and our mission is to empower all who care for, educate, care for, and advocate on behalf of young children. We're the state affiliate of NAEYC. We're an individual professional membership association with over 2,000 early childhood educators. I love this quote. We have to flip our understanding about quality and put the educator in the center. This fits with our mission because we truly believe that sorry about that. We truly believe that to achieve meaningful progress in early childhood education, we must prioritize listening to educators' voices and respecting their expertise. Early childhood educators are truly the backbone of quality early childhood education, and they have firsthand knowledge of what their children and their programs need. And we also believe that quality outcomes for children require policies that support educators, such as equitable compensation, professional development, and resources to enhance their ability to serve in their roles. You'll see this reflected in Ohio AEYC's public policy priorities. And we're going to begin talking a little bit about those now. So as we've looked at, what we wanted to focus on, we could have probably 20 more priorities. One of our goals when we were setting these policies was, first of all, we listened to members, we did some surveys, we have weekly conversations that are open to all in an early childhood coalition. So what we really wanted to do was provide some focused priorities that would have an impact on the field, an impact on the programs, a positive impact. We know that while the stabilization grants have no longer have funding, that the impact of the pandemic has not been resolved for programs. They're still struggling, they're still challenging. So our first priority is acceleration of payment on enrollment practices. The federal government has mandated that states begin paying on enrollment rather than attendance. Um, but
Oh,
our state, as long as many other states, requested and received a 2-year waiver on that. What our goal is to do is to advocate that that be put into place prior to the 2-year deadline. We really believe that payment on enrollment practices is something that can provide immediate financial help to programs. It will help with programs as far as budgeting, scheduling staff, paying staff in more consistent ways. And we are supportive of the market rate moving to the 75th percentile. However, we think the payment on enrollment practices may have more traction with the legislators, seeing as our state will eventually need to comply with this mandate. So that's one of our priorities. The second priority is what we're calling the CARES program. And really, what it is we've rebranded the categorical eligibility. So, really, that's what it is. But in rebranding it, we're hoping that it will help legislators to see categorical eligibility more as a workforce support. If you're not familiar with categorical eligibility, what that means is anyone who works in the early childhood sector, and details would need to be worked out, would receive free subsidized, they'd be eligible for subsidized childcare regardless of their family's income. This was launched in Kentucky, and a number of other states have modeled this in different ways and with quite a bit of success. And we believe that it will incentivize recruitment and retention. And for those employees who have children, this ends up putting money back in their pocket if they're not paying for childcare out of their own pocket. We also believe it assists families because more educators that stay in their roles, the more classrooms that are likely to be operating at full capacity and not closed. We also believe that businesses should be supportive of this because, again, when programs have the ability to operate at full enrollment, their employees are more likely to have access to business. So we think it's a win for, individual educators. We also think it's a win for programs. Many of you are aware that childcare programs, not all, but many do provide free or reduced childcare for their employees. If this were, if that was not something they needed to pay out of their own pocket, that also puts money back into the program's budget. We also have been working with the Ohio Head Start Collaboration Office, or the Ohio Head Start Association, for a number of years to make sure that the Head Start performance standards and NAEYC accreditation are aligned with and recognized in our state Step Up to Quality system. We believe that what we would like to see is programs who are in compliance with Head Start performance standards, as well as those programs that are nationally accredited, that we've requested that the state look at the alignment and determine where, whether it's bronze, silver, or gold. Of course, we think it should be gold because we think those are the highest gold standards of practice. As well as those of you who have been around a long time, you'll remember that the whole QRIS system really was built on the foundation of NAEYC accreditation standards and Head Start performance standards. So what this does is it reduces administrative burden for Head Start programs and accredited programs, not having to do two sets of paperwork, not having to be rated by two different systems. So it incentivizes programs to offer the highest quality. And finally, we also have continued to advocate for our state to adopt as a blueprint the unifying framework for the early childhood profession. This was a national initiative that was led by NAEYC, but included all the relevant organizations that serve early childhood educators, including higher education, Child Care Aware, Head Start, National Association for Family Child Care. And what the framework does is defines rules, defines career pathways, provides a clear way to compensate and advocate for professional compensation. And what it really is looking at, it's not something that could be done overnight, but it's looking at the reality of the current workforce that we have with the workforce that children truly need to have access to diversified, well-qualified, well-compensated early childhood educators. Um, so those are our advocacy priorities. However, we also realize that we can't do it just at the state level. As I mentioned before, we're the state affiliate of NAEYC, and we really want to take the opportunity to make sure that we also are advocating at the federal level. NAEYC has a public policy forum. We invite you to contact us if you're interested in participating. It's from February 23rd through the 25th. There's hands-on workshops that teach you give you some keys on advocating and meeting with legislators. We go to the Hill together as a team, meet directly with Ohio's legislators, and it's just a great experience. So we'll be sending out more information about that. We'd love to have you join our team if you're interested. And we think this is critical because federal funding directly impacts state allocations, and advocacy at both levels will create a more unified approach. So there again is just the call to action. We'd love to have you join us at the Public Policy Forum. We can put this link in the chat box, but also there is a need right away. During this while Congress is still in session, they're looking at continuing resolutions, and there is an opportunity not only to provide either current or increased funding for childcare programs, but additional funding for programs, early childhood education programs that need disaster relief from the recent tornadoes and hurricanes. Now I'm going to turn it over to Qianna to share a little bit about leadership, which is so important to this work.
Good morning, everyone. As I sit here with my morning meeting mug, perfect for the occasion on this cold, snowy day in the Cleveland area. So one of the mission of Ohio AEYC is to empower all who care for, educate, and advocate on behalf of young children. And one of the ways that I truly enjoy this is through our Serving Leader Virtual Institute. And so when I reflect on leadership, I thought about the person that I feel like, oh my gosh, he just has it. When he walks in a room, you can tell he's a leader, and it's my husband. And so, although I truly believe that leaders are made and not born, so I asked him, I said, hey, honey, when did you start being a leader? When was the first time you led something? And he said he was 4 years old at his church choir, directing the adult choir at 4. And I thought, oh my gosh, he had the skills and he had the confidence. However, even though he was 4 years old directing the choir, leading people, he still invests in leadership training, because although you may come with these natural born gifts and talents, there are so many things you can add to your toolbox. So one way that we are able to empower early childhood professionals at Ohio AEYC is through our Serving Leader Institute Fellowship, which is awesome. Every year we do it. We create a community within that fellowship where we're able to have a safe space, where we're able to be vulnerable. And not only that, you will have your own little cheerleading squad wherever you go. And I love going to the conference. And a lot of the people that have come from our fellowship, they are advocating local level, national level. They are active volunteers at our conference. They are even presenting sessions. And that is my favorite part. So In order to be a part of our fellowship, it doesn't matter where you are, because wherever you are in life, you are a leader. If you're a teacher in the classroom, you are a leader. If you are the assistant teacher, you are a leader. And so the wonderful thing about the Serving Leader Fellowship is that it's not just for early childhood professionals. This work is going on across the world, not just the country. And so we take these 5 actions and we apply it to your job. And so you'll have tools for your toolbox immediately. So we are having 2 virtual institutes in the spring. And then you can change the slide, Kim. So we'll have 2. So we have one January 14th through March 25th. Kim and I will be co-facilitating. We are both certified serving leader trainers. And so that one is open to anyone that wants to join. But the one that is near and dear to my heart is our fellowship for Black early childhood professionals. In this society, as a Black person in early childhood, a Black woman in the world, I need a safe space. I need a space where I can come in and just be unapologetically me, a space where I can tell my story. I don't want people to sympathize with me, but I just want a space where I have a community to embrace me as I go through this. So Tanya Bias is the board president of Ohio AEYC. Tanya and I co-facilitate this fellowship as well. So that one will be, so the one that's open will be on Tuesdays from 1 to 3. And then the other one with the Black early childhood professionals will be on Thursdays from 1 to 3. So I encourage you, if you want to expand on your leadership practices, please join our cohort. It is definitely a life-changing experience. And as I mentioned before, it's not just in the early childhood field. I can implement these things at home. And this is just a quick example. One of the 5 actions is appending the pyramid, and it's more about delegation. So I said, you know what? At home, you need to do more of this. So I'm empowering the people in my household to help me out around here with the chores, which has truly been a blessing. So thank you. I am putting in the chat our link to sign up for our fellowship, and I hope some of you will join us.
Thank you so much, Qianna. We did just get a question about the fellowship. Is there a cost to attend?
Yes, there is a cost. There is a minimal fee. However, it is a quarter of the amount. We have some grant funding that we're able to use to supplement the cost. And so the fee is $549. And it's 13 weeks, and then you receive 32 Ohio approved credit hours.
Thank you so much. And we are happy to include, we have the slides that we'll send out after this call as well as the recording. And I'm happy to include this link and anything else that Kim and Qianna mentioned today. If there's a registration for the DC visit, or we can just put a save the date for that as well. But we'll make sure all this content's in our follow-up email to everyone. So thank you. Our team is so grateful for the partnership of Kim and Qianna. And I know I've learned so much from you all this year as I've been new to this policy space myself. So we really appreciate the partnership, and so much of the policy work that you talked about this morning, Kim, is so in line with the things that we're pushing for. So it's great to be able to advocate hand in hand with you. We had a couple more questions in the chat. We have one about the House Bill 595. There was a question, I believe that's Representative Robinson's universal preschool legislation. There was a question whether OAEYC is a proponent of that bill.
To be honest, we just became aware of that bill recently. I'm glad Brittany's nodding her head as well. We're still reviewing it to determine where it aligns with our priorities. But like, we've talked with Groundwork, there are pieces and parts of everyone's advocacy campaign that we look and we go, we can support this because it aligns with what we're doing. But just looking at our capacity, also trying to determine where do we put the majority of our energy, but we are still looking at that.
Completely understand that balance. And I think that one just started receiving hearings now that the legislature reconvened after the election cycle, and folks have been in their districts most of this year. So we also have been reviewing it, and that makes perfect sense. There's another one, and I think the answer is going to be quite similar. There was a question around the CARE legislation, which I know is the categorical eligibility sort of rebranded, and I love the messaging around the workforce component, and I'll incorporate that too in some of my conversations. I think that's really effective. Um, the There is a current proposal that I think is led by two Democrats. That's House Bill 570, which also just started receiving hearings, perhaps even on the same days as 595. Is that bill an accurate version of what you're referring to, Kim, or is this maybe something we're looking at in the budget? Do you want to share a little bit more about that strategy?
Yeah, we're looking for it in this budget and currently talking, our lobbyist Von Flasher is currently talking with some legislators about sponsoring it more specifically so that it is put forward as a workforce and retention bill. So there's not legislation currently on it, but we hope to, after the first of the year, have a sponsor for a more specific bill. But it is good to know that it's getting traction and some other people have put some things forward that are similar to it. And it was included in the last budget, but at the very end, of course, it was removed. So those of you who have been in advocacy work know that advocacy is a marathon, not a race, and we'd be really thrilled if it makes it over the finish line this time around.
And I'll just add, I was yesterday I went to the County Commissioners Association of Ohio's annual meeting, and I was at a panel with Rick Carfagna from the Ohio Chamber of Commerce. And I don't know that they called it the CARE Act, but the categorical eligibility was also one of their top policy priorities in the childcare space as well. So I think we've got really diverse and wonderful partners who can help raise the message on that one. A lot of other things that we've chatted about this morning were also on that agenda, but they hit on that specifically yesterday. So thought I'd share.
Yeah, and the reason we thought about rebranding it is the last time around, it was identified as a scholarship, which in some ways in the mindset is, you know, you're giving to, you know, these people versus this being a workforce support for recruitment and retention. And I think business leaders and legislators tend to be a little more open to that concept than scholarshiping. So we'll be using both terms, categorical eligibility, but also we just thought that the rebranding of it might help it set more in their mind that this is a workforce support and the idea is recruitment and retention for the field.
I think that's so smart. Thank you, Kim. That was all of the questions that we had in the chat. If there's anybody who has additional feedback or questions, feel free to pop off mute and we can keep it conversational.
I do want to add
Yeah.
as a plug, I was a member of the inaugural Groundwork Advocacy Fellowship. So I think people that was in the first cohort should be on the website. I'm gonna just throw that in, ask Lynanne about it.
I think we
However,
can make it happen.
but I truly appreciate this partnership with Groundwork because you all set the fire of advocacy under me by having those advocacy days when I was in my previous role. And so now, you know, being at the State House, talking to aides and legislators really empowered me. And so I find myself in my own community. And so this is just a quick example. So Amelia Sykes, she did a book club. And so my son is an aspiring politician. So she did a book club over the summer a couple of years ago, and she had an ice cream social. And so the students that did her book club over the summer, they came, they got ice cream, they have these official certificates. So as I'm sitting there and she's working the room, I'm talking about early childhood issues. I know she's like, I'm here to be with the children, not talk shop. However, any opportunity I can, I feel empowered because we are the experts. We are the ones working in the field. We are the ones in the trenches every single day. And we are the ones the legislators want to talk to. So please be empowered to share your stories because when you get in those rooms, you are the expert. Don't be intimidated by the pens and the suits. Tell your story.
I love that note. And I think we can totally add an alumni page. Our comms team is on the call, I'm sure, going, oh, but we can add an alumni list. But I love that you use that opportunity with Congresswoman Sykes to put in the good word for young kids. That's fantastic. Well, if there aren't other questions, Kim, Qianna, is there anything else that you wanted to add this morning? We are so grateful that you took the time with us and shared your policy agenda and some of the incredible programming that you're offering the field that we're happy to promote to all of our folks as well.
I would just wrap up by saying, thank everyone here who's taking time out of their day to be here. I was at a national convening with the Hunt Institute, and one of the panelists said, you know, it's so hard to figure out, what we need to do to solve this crisis. And someone sitting at my table was, no, it's not. We've got brilliant people in this room. We have brilliant people on this call. It's not hard. It's getting the will to do it, because we know the answer is a huge financial investment at the federal, the state, the local level. We have the answers. You give us the money, we've got all kinds of brilliant ideas we can implement. So your advocacy, your voice is critically important. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Kim. And thank you, Kim and Qianna, both for ending on that note of how important all of our voices are. We all bring our unique perspectives and expertise and personal lived experiences into each of those rooms. And we're all those experts in those things. And I love ending on that note. So really appreciate that. We, as I mentioned, will send out the recording from this morning's session. I'll keep talking for another minute just in case anybody pops an extra question in there. We'll share all the links. We'll share the slides. And please return next week. We are going to have Republican Representative Andrea White from Kettering and Democratic Representative Dunny Isaacson from Cincinnati. They both have worked on a slew of legislation that would impact the lives of young children and are going to talk to us about what's happening in the legislative lame duck session here this month, which should conclude most likely by December 18th. There's an if needed session December 19th. I'm sure none of the members want to be here that close to the holidays. So we'll get the scoop from them and maybe could even ask them a couple of the questions around these specific bills that came up today, as well as some budget projections and outlook. So please come back next week, same time, same place, same link, and we'll get all the details out from today. Thank you again so much, Kim and Qianna, and I hope everyone has a wonderful morning. Take care.